Welcome to the LXD Originals podcast series, your one stop shop for insights on the ever evolving world of learning and development. This is Sandeep Kumar, founder of LXD Guild Community, and we have Neha Gandhi, founder and productions, who is our co host for this new and exciting series, The Training Interrupted with AI. Each month, we come forward to discuss various trending topics in L&D space. Let's start with Neha.
Thank you so much, Sandeep, for the introduction. And thank you so much for letting me co host this wonderful podcast. So, yes, it is absolutely exciting to, start off these series with you and with the LXD Guild. And going forward, just to tell all our viewers out there that we start a first episode after running a LinkedIn poll and asking the L&D community out there that what should be the topic of a first episode. And this topic came out so clearly on the top that there was no choice but to go with it. And the topic is content creation with AI. Has it become more valuable than experience? And for this, we've had these wonderful two guests with us, Apurva Kumar and Rahul Agarwal. Hi, Rahul.
Hi everyone, thanks for having me. Great to join you guys.
There we have a second guest as well. Apurva, thank you for joining in.
Hi, thanks. Thank you. Thanks, Neha and Sandeep, for having me. And I'm really looking forward to the conversation.
Welcome, Apurva. Welcome, Rahul.
Thank you so much for joining in. And just a little bit about both our, guests. So Apurva is an L&D professional with over 11 years of experience. And what is exciting is that he's been using Gen AI and he advocates Gen AI a lot in content creation, which brings a lot of practical insights on how he's transitioned from traditional L&D approaches to AI-enabled learning. And here also we have Rahul, who comes with about 11 years of experience in instructional design across IT, e-commerce, and sales domain. And today we have them both together to challenge the conventions and share fresh perspectives on how AI is reshaping the future of training. First problem statement of the podcast is that we've been discussing is that can anyone create training now? Do you think, Sandeep, a 10-year-old can now generate a training module?
Yes, that's the interesting topic to discuss, and very glad that we are picking that as for the first podcast series and this episode. So, content creation with AI, I think that is buzzing across our content industry. And in that, when we come to learning experience design, we are not spared. Yes. So, as you were saying, like, okay, can a 10-year-old generate a training module today? Maybe he can just go ahead and put certain thing, pick up one AI, any Gen AI tool, and they might generate something. But is that really a training module? I doubt it. So maybe we would like to hear it from our guest speakers who are experts in this.
Right. So that's a great question, Sandeep. Right. So if you ask the question, can a 10-year-old use a Gen AI tool and develop training and learning module? The answer is yes, right? But if you would like to reframe the question and ask, can a 10-year-old kid develop a good quality and relevant training module? I think I have my doubt, right? And I want to answer that question by sharing a latest experience that I have, right? So, as an L&D professional, I wear a lot of hats, right? My most of my sort of time spent in execution and delivery of training and learning and development learning events, but I also facilitate and develop and also teach public policy to public policy students and fellows in India, right? And a couple of months ago, I was approached by a university, and I was asked to take a session on something called public choice theory. Public choice theory is a very niche topic within public policy and economics, right? And there is very scant literature available in public domain. So I sort of use Gen AI to help me develop the module, right? Gen AI tool was great in helping me define some of the terms and developing some of the concepts and frameworks. But since the session was for a postgraduate cohort, so it can't be a lecture, right? So I thought that it should be a case study driven session. So I started sort of doing research on case studies, especially with Indian context. And this Gen AI tool started showing me results, on case studies on sort of how urban infrastructure is collapsing in India, so on and so forth. Uh, I was not sure whether the examples that the tool is showing is actually relevant, or I think there was some hallucination as well that's going on. So I started doing fact check, and it's very funny. I use the same Gen AI tool to do fact check, and towards the end, the tool said that, hey, you know what, I was wrong, and this information doesn't exist, right? So what I'm trying to say is that you still need experience of an instructional design expert of an L&D expert, because it's the expertise which will bring that element of discretion, that element of judgment in sort of refining the training module, which can be developed using any Gen AI tool. So I think it's not either or case. I think it's about how we sort of come up with a middle path in which we sort of situate our experience within the larger gamut of Gen AI, which is taking place, and the transition that is taking place.
Pura, very, very well said about the fraction example that you just shared. But I just have something which is cascading from your answer is for Rahul. So Rahul, are we saying that now there's a whole lot of buzz around having these prompt engineers, and prompt engineers are actually proving the point that we don't need IDs anymore, right? If I prompt it correctly, I can give you the desired result. So, well, okay, we will go a little further. I would probably 10-year-old was a little bit too a pessimistic approach. Let's get a little bit more a little more advanced. It's okay, a prompt engineer with a just plain IT background, who claims that what, I know how to prompt the right results. So are we saying that IDs are going to now become the new prompt engineers?
Oh, well, Neha, I would say yes. The prompt engineers can also create trainings right now. But, creating content was, for me at least, was never a hard part on my job. I think the hardest part was to decide what not to teach, because AI can give you, by a good prompt, it can give you loads of content. It can give you beautiful slides. It can guide you how you can engage the learners. But again, deciding which slides to include and which slides to exclude is something that experience tells you. You can include 10 slides on how to make an apple, but again, depending on your audience type and your audience age, you need to sit down and see what works well for your audience and what does not. So I would just put it in a simple way that anyone can create training, including the prompt engineers. But again, it's the experience that tells you what not to teach and how not to confuse the learners.
Actually, that's very interesting. I like to bring an example myself. And Sandeep, this is a conversation I was having with a potential client just 2 days ago over a cup of coffee. And they were exploring, these LXP and, LMS new platforms. And with a lot of prompt, with just voice prompts, they were able to create content. But the challenge that they came back and they mentioned was, which just Rahul kind of, pinpointed and picked it up really beautifully, was that is skill getting identified with your prompt engineering? Is the pedagogy actually getting aligned with your prompt engineering? That's really important, right? And understanding and mapping your target audience, your TG, is that really happening, or is it purely a prompt engineering that is creating some sort of an output? So Apurva, I have a question for you. While you mentioned about how Gen AI is actually taking up speed and you're using it extensively even for training, how are you able to draw a balance with with with, in the sense, with the need of the hour, and also making sure that the content that is getting generated is aligned with let's say with the skill set or the pedagogy? How does one manage that? How does one have to take care, because it's actually a swimming pool, like you can really get swamped with so much information out there.
So Neha, to answer your question, I would like to double down my previous response, right? I think learning prompt engineering or sort of using prompt engineering to develop learning or training module, I would say it's relatively easy, right? But how much is that training, particular specific training module, relevant to the 30 people who are there in that room, in that training room? So, as part of my job, most of my training that I deliver or that I sort of design are in-person training, right? Very few are sort of, are tech-driven training components, right? I work predominantly with the government and in social impact sector in which there is resource crunch. So I think most of them have to sort of most of these organizations and spaces, they rely on in person rather than a tech driven thing, right? So a prompt sort of a great prompt can sort of come up with like sort of great content, and your productivity must have increased. The speed by which you are generating content would have increased, but has the quality increased? As I mentioned in my previous sort of the example that I shared, that's a big question mark, right? And these Gen AI tools, when you start asking them specific question about specific topics, I think they are not yet trained. The patterns that they sort of know that they retrieve, they are not so rich that it throws relevant. In my example case, raise an example. So as an L&D professional, I have to depend on a subject matter expert, which is not a prompt, it's not a Gen AI, it's a human being to validate my the content and the training module that I have developed. So again, I would put again, the human being, the person at the epicenter of all scheme of things that's happening, right? But don't consider me as a Luddite. I am sort of in my previous avatar, I've been a tech person. I love technology and I love using technology in sort of making us more productive. But this is one area in which we need to strike balance between both aspects.
Wonderfully said. Yeah, I think Apurva, I totally agree. I challenge that myself each day, and it is something while we are creating content, we obviously need an SME who comes and helps us. And I think Sandeep and I, we face that challenge day in and out. But Rahul, just coming back to you on this, like you mentioned that you worked with IT and e-commerce, which is like great tech platforms by themselves. So I think their adaptability to tech would have been very easy on. But while I say that, I mean, are they also easily accepting that Gen AI can help them to deliver end-to-end solutions without human intervention? Because again, working with a tech and let's say non-tech brand, the ideologies are also very different.
Sure, Neha. So there are two sides to it. So let me talk about one side, working with this big e-commerce and sales companies. I think everybody is going all in for Gen AI. I don't want to name these companies, but yes, they are putting in all of their efforts to adapt to the Gen AI. They are also building their own AI agents to make sure there is a lot of automation. Uh, it is definitely impacting a lot of human intervention, but again, a couple of clients that I worked with are really appreciating a Gen AI with human touch because the experience will help you guide as to why the training didn't work versus you know when you talk about experience, it's not only about why the training didn't work. You also go back and do the root cause as to how you can make your trainings better. But AI cannot really take that judgment or credibility to go back and see and analyze why the training didn't work. So you know these companies I can say are going all in to make sure they have the good Gen AI product, and they're also building their AI agents. On the other side, there were a couple of clients who were really reluctant to use the Gen AI. They wanted complete human touch because the nature of the product that they were building, they wanted to keep it little confidential. Plus, it needed 98% of human touch and feel so that the instructional designer can emotionally attached to its learner and make sure the learners are getting what they need, and to match it up with their real time experience, and not just putting a training for the sake of completing it.
Thank you so much, Rahul. Yes, I mean, that is so true because right now I think we're all in a swindle these days, right? So, because Gen AI is so new and everybody's just trying to explore it in different ways, and I think by the hour a new tool comes up every day. And it's very good in superseding the previous one. Now there have been, tools which are actually, getting the other tools. So I think it's a lot of it is going on. But I think what I really wanted to understand was, and Sandeep, Apurva, please just chime in because it's just an open discussion. Um, is just human intervention a bridge, a temporary bridge between Gen AI and where the future is going? That's one. Is it something which is going to dilute? Because obviously, I think 90% of the time I keep telling my team, guess what, guys, we should be paid for training these tools, right? Like, likely we said, if we need a certain output and for a certain project, we literally train the tool to a certain extent that it starts generating what we want. Like a chat GPT talks to you in a manner now the way you want it to speak to. So you actually training your tool, right? And that's exactly what's happening. But is that going to be a temporary phase? And will that eliminate the human intervention, or it's going to be an ongoing thing? And to add to that, is it getting better ROI, like I like to say ROL, rather return on learning, than when there was no Gen AI, to what the new the ecosystem that has been created? And this is open to everyone, actually. Anybody could just talk about it.
Apurva, would you like to take that question?
I don't want to sound too prophetic. I can't sort of predict the future, what it would look like. But I again, I would like to sort of respond to this question by sharing, my recent experience working with the government. Right? So as I said that the areas which I work are predominantly low tech, if I may use the word. And the integration of modern technology takes a lot of time for obvious reason, right? It could be resource crunch, it could be behavioral, so on and so forth, right? As compared to where Rahul is coming from, right? So, I'm great that we're having this conversation because we are 180 degrees apart. Um, so, um, 10 months ago, I was designing a training strategy for frontline bureaucrats across India, right? And the department or the ministries that I have worked with, they have very sophisticated manuals and SOPs, and the government manuals and SOPs. You would guess that these are like really bulky documents, right? No, the target audience was a frontline worker working in, let's say, rural Assam or rural Rajasthan or a rural Telangana, right? First is language problem. B, the technicalities with which we have sort of developed those manuals, sitting here in Delhi, would be the sort of the lived experience would be completely different for this frontline bureaucrat, right? So we try to sort of design and deploy few in-person training, and these are like extensive training, 5 days, 7-day training, in-person training. But what we realized was that the ability to retain some of the content that we were imparting was not that great. A, and B, most of these government officials and officers, for the paucity of time, they just can't. They're juggling with multiple things, right? So they can't focus on one sort of activity during a training session. What we realized was that the learning outcomes that we intended, at the very beginning, were not being met, and the quality of training and even the attrition was quite high. Then I think we came up with this idea: why not we sort of develop a chatbot, very rudimentary, very basic chatbot, in which what we did was we put all the SOPs and manuals, and we developed a team where sort of these subject matter experts can sort of help in developing these prompts and the back end of it, so that the frontline worker will just punch in a few basic queries, basic FAQs, and from the manuals and the SOPs that we have put in the back end, it should be able to throw the relevant answers. And I think initially there were sort of few technical hiccups, and there was a lot of back and forth. We were also trying to figure out for the first time how it works, but eventually things started improving, right? And the frontline
Yes.
worker who's working in the boondocks of rural India, or the Himalayan region, Ladakh, and so on and so forth, they were able to find their answers by just punching in few sort of few keywords on this rudimentary chatbot that we developed. And I think 70% of the burden that we were sort of carrying was relieved. The only finishing touch was done by the respective state teams in 1 or 2 day training, and I think that model worked very well. Again, I'll come back to my sort of germane point. All these technologies are great, but you still need these subject matter experts who will train, as Neha said. You have to train these tools to throw results as we want, the way we want, and not some random sort of searches.
Yes, Apurva. So that is where I see that experience comes into play, right? So yeah, what we see most of us when we are going ahead and trying to accomplish something through AI, we first need to understand how the approach would be. So as you are taking the reference of the SOPs, right? So the standing operating procedures have a lot of compliance, yes, regulatory stuff. So you can't just go ahead as we started with, okay, can a 10-year-old just go ahead and generate a trading? So can they do? The first letter of that SOP and the whatever the item number and all, then they'll be like, okay, I think this Gen Z will already start running away from that. So you need that expertise to go ahead and analyze what it is. So that is where what I see AI is becoming a buddy for us. So that where earlier, so if in case you had to go ahead and generate something out of it or build a training, you had to sit down, review all those number of pages, because we deal with pharma clients where they share those like lengthy SOPs that has, and now they want that to be delivered or converted into interactive content, right? So maybe what I see here, the change of learning, or the requirement, is also enabling that conventional formats where people always wanted to learn and are learning is shifting towards an experiential learning. And I think that is where we can thank AI, because we are building a fast track inputs so that we have an output, but that has to be measured. And that can be achieved when an experienced instructional designer with a prompt engineer who knows what the subject is, connecting with the subject matter experts, only can provide a valuable output, right? So thank you for sharing that. And yes, so we understand it is definitely experience which matters, okay? And whatever we are trying to do on technology front today, it is AI. And who knows tomorrow, as we are working on a lot of parallel world, you hear about blockchain. Yeah, we hear about a lot many technologies. So technologies will be evolving, but it is always for us as humans to utilize that to the best and continue to produce the best outputs. Yes. Yep. So Neha, what would you like to take it?
Yeah. So, Sandeep, I just think that, yeah, yeah, I was just going to say that was very well articulated and put by you. So I think you actually put the gist of the entire podcast well. But before just signing off, I think we should let Apurva and Rahul just give some takeaways to those who are still struggling to adapt to AI and they still think that, AI is, or are still in the zone or in the mode of saying, hashtag boycott AI. So we still have a whole set of community out there. But what would be your, just a few lines? Rahul, we can start with you.
AI, a lot of people get scared, and a lot of people also get motivated. In a 5-year-old kid generating a top quality picture, that's great. I mean, where the technology is taking everyone is great, but again, you should know when to stop using AI or when to stop believing in AI. I can go back to my previous example that it can generate results faster than a human mind can, or outside of a human capability. But again, you need to take those results and kind of do your own research and analyze what's good, what's not good, or what's teachable, what's not teachable. And just make use of AI, get the results faster, and when you save your time, use your save time into production or thinking about what other learning needs are required. So just trying to put it very simple and clear that use AI, but never think that AI is smarter than you, because human brain is always the smartest one.
Okay. Thank you, Rahul. That was great. Apurva, over to you.
So Neha, just to answer your question, I would use the analogy of physics, and I'm sure many of your gentle listeners are from science background, right? So AI can give us speed, right? But the question is, can AI provide velocity, which is speed plus direction? I think that's something that we need to ponder, and that's something that we need to
Yeah,
think a lot.
that's a really relatable example, Apurva. Before we wrap, one last thing. So, Neha and me, with the busy schedules, which everyone here, even the listeners, we are busy, if not with work, yeah, we are busy with AI. Yeah, consuming the content which is everywhere. So we did use AI tool even to shape and structure this podcast. And only thing is that Apurva and Rahul are real, okay? They are not avatars. I think we can just go and try to get that maybe for the other podcasts. Yeah. So we did bring that. The AI is an intervention even here to work on this podcast. So we would definitely love to hear and comments from our listeners. Okay, so what is that? Is it the tool which really brought us Apurva, Rahul, Neha, or Sandeep as part of this community to share this? Or is it more that we want to share that learning experience which brought us here? So please drop your comments, okay? And that will really help us and encourage us for the next and upcoming topics for this podcast.
All right, thank you so much. And as Sadeep said, that we would love to hear from all of you that, was it actually the fear of AI or the fact that we want to share our experiences with AI that has brought us all together? And I think as a community, we should go out there and share experiences like Rahul and Apurva have been really kind to come and host. So, yes, so please feel free to share your experiences and enable those who are still in the mode of hashtag boycott AI. So I think this is going to take us to, because AI is here, it's a fact, and it's not going anywhere. So it's better we adapt to it, we learn to live with it, than to kind of run away from it. Yeah. All right. I think on that note, thank you so much, Rahul, Apurva. Thank you so much for joining in. And Sandeep, over to you.
Yes, thank you, Apurva. Thank you, Rahul. So, this is not the end of this episode. So, this follows with a tool where you can go ahead and experience how the AI tools have helped, maybe in the process of generating a storyboard and developing the content for a training. Please explore and leave your comments for that. So, what we can conclude out of this discussion here is training isn't broken, it is interrupted. And we humans are needed, as Apurva said. Okay, it is the speed which gives, the AI provides, but velocity is still us. So, as we say with LXD Guild, learning never stops. So, until next time, bidding adieu to all the listeners, and keep learning and keep listening and enjoy the rest of the time. Thank you. Have a good day.
Thank you. Thank you so much. Thank you so much. Thank you. Bye bye. Thank you.